Welcome everyone to another iteration of Force of Will deck builds made by Endoralis. I'm Endoralis, and as you noticed, this is a different voice than what I normally use. I'm experimenting with this because I am bored, and I wish to see if you feel the same way, that this is a nice voice. I would like to introduce a particular deck called Determined Souls. I was going for maybe Little Girl Souls or Souls deck, but it works out fine. I will call it the Determined Souls deck. This deck, unlike other decks, is a dual ruler type deck. It doesn't need specifically one or the other, and it can be changed based on your own preferences. The two rulers I'm speaking about are actually Scarlet from the CFC series and Lapis Cluster. Her entire ability is based upon her tapping things out, bouncing things, drawing cards, and conversely, on the other side, we have your other partner ruler, the Dusk Girl or Scarlet, whose whole entire thing is about burning your hand out to burn your opponents and then flipping to swing with her, likely for game. This deck, the Determined Souls deck, is actually a mid-range deck. There is no mana ramp, there is nothing special, but it's a deck that's supposed to slow your opponent down enough for you to get your combination out, or simply have enough control that you can beat them in the face with your creatures. As such, the deck plays, well, not slow. Slow wouldn't be the word for it. The deck plays to a certain rhythm that you can adjust if you feel that the deck is not to your liking. The current way I'm going to go about this is I'm going to explain both sides. You've already seen Charlotte. Charlotte's ruler side has the ability for one blue to discard a card and to tap out a Resonator. You rest the Resonator. Because of the way this entire engine works, this deck has cards which are specifically meant to be thrown away in one way, shape, or other, because the opponent tries to make you discard, in which case you don't care, or you yourself, burn your cards away, so you do it, which you don't care. Every time you discard a card, usually it has an effect, or the effect can be drawn from the graveyard. There's going to be a few that aren't, but every deck has that because there's only so many soul cards. Her flip side, the J Ruler side, makes it where you can discard a card for 2, 1, and a blue, and it pops a Resonator back. So you can use that one of two ways. You can use that to pop a blocker from your Resonator if you're trying to swing into them or swing into something they try to block, or you can utilize it to actually pop a Resonator you have back to your hand. And then the other side, you have Scarlet, or the Dusk Girl, whose ruler side makes it where she can pay 1 red, and she burns a Resonator for 500. 700 if it's a dinosaur. We don't have any dinosaurs in this particular iteration of the deck, but there was an iteration that did have Mosasaurus in it for variations of control. And then her flip side, which you can only do when you have no cards in your hand for black, gives her a plethora of symbol skills and the ability to, if she kills a J Resonator, she untaps once for free and she can swing again, of course. She has swiftness, of course, precision, first strike, and imperishable. So even when she dies, you can just flip her again and again and again, as long as you can empty your hand out. So we go to the first iteration cards. I usually go in this case, I'm going to have a standardized way I do it. It's going to go from least to greatest as far as cost, usually in alphabetical order, and then it's going to be Resonators, Chance, and then Addition. So if you want to skip to specific portions of this video, there will be Resonators, Chance, Additions. You can tell based on that. So we're going to go to the first one. The first card is actually called Ancient Automaton. Ancient Automaton is a 2-cost creature that has the ability to become bigger based on the additions you play. And in this deck, there are 11 additions, and they all function and work for other reasons, but as a passive, this creature becomes bigger. What it does allow you to do is to play a lower cost creature that can block, destroy, or even go for game because of the amount of additions you have. It's 2 cost creature. It's very good. Sometimes you'll get, sometimes yeah, that's why you only have 2 of them. The next card is 4 Charlotte's Protectors. This is a card that will almost always be in a Charlotte deck, but in this case, even outside of Charlotte's, it is a very good card for decks that like to uh, get rid of cards from your hand and get another effect. This card is actually meant to assuage or dissuade Farrer's characters, people who play Farrer's spell, and Lorite's entire thing is stopping an ability you control. Well, if you stop either Charlotte's or Dusk Girl's ability to discard a card, since it's a cost effect, regardless, either one effect or the other is going off. Either this card goes into the graveyard and you draw a card, in which case you're not even down the card, or alternatively, this card doesn't draw you a card, but then you get the effect of Scarlet or Charlotte. So Scarlet or Charlotte. Ha! I just realized that. So it works out fine. It makes you thin your deck easier, and it's a free throwaway card. You'll never pay the 2 costs for it ever, usually, and you're gonna have 4 of those. The next card is 3 Elixirs the Majin. Now, Elixir is a 4 cost. She comes in, she has a black and a red crest effect, which I'm going to explain later why I put her in here. But she throws the theme of determined woman, determined soul, as she burst from wherever she was, took over the body of the person she did, and then she thrusts her strength upon her to kill your opponents. The main effect you're going to get from her is her red effect, which is she does 600 damage to all Resonators on the field. The great thing about that is nowadays there are creatures with barrier or chance that'll make you where you don't target it or they jump away, and this just hits the field. It hits all their opponents, it hits all of them for 600, which is enough to kill most 2-drops, and it give you just enough damage if you want to hit them out with something else, which you're going to find out later. She's pretty good, and she's 3-drop. Well, she's not 3-drop. She's 3 of them. The next 2 cards are Gilgamesh, Immortal Hunter. Sorry. And his main reason to exist in this deck is similarly to, well, it's actually twofold. It's similar to the Ancient Automaton, in which case he gets bigger based on the amount of additions you have, but specifically he gets bigger based upon the amount of treasury items out on the field. And once he reaches 3, he's indestructible. He can't be destroyed at all. Meaning they have to then destroy your additions to make him go away, or they have to turn him into something else to kill him a different way. The other ability he has, which is very great, is that if you have a Wind Magic Stone come into play, suddenly he produces mana or will of any type, meaning that if you had any weird combinations that require different types of will, he could create it for you, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that anymore. It's simply there. You have it there. With him, he's good. And considering most of your stone base actually does have green in it, he won't be hard to get. At least 6 of your stones are green, at least at the base. The next card is an actual soul card, is Misty Dragon Spirit. Misty Dragon, of course, has the ability as a 4 cost to, for 0, pop himself out of the field if he's targeted, and then come in the next time your phase ends. So this allows him to dodge effects that don't hit the entire field, for death, and it also makes it where you can constantly have him come in and do separate effects. He will have problems with things like Shooting Star, who will kill him for 2,000 because he comes in, he dies. But other than that, it's a free dodge. Outside of that, his other effect, which is what you utilize in this deck a lot, and which why you won't mind throwing him away, is that he gives a J Resonator flying. Meaning you can sack him from your hand, and then pick any of your things on the field. And if you need to get them out, like a Mosasaurus, they fly, and they just fly your opponent and smash them. So either you sack it and they stop your effect, like I said, from Charlotte or Scarlet, or you get the effect off and he flies, and then it goes through. And you have 4 of him, mainly because he can be discard father, or if he's not discard father, you just play him, and he's a flyer who hits you for a 9. The next is 3 Willful Samurai Spirits. Willful Samurai Spirit is a 10-8, of course, who has Pierce. Meaning you just usually swing at the target you want dead, or you swing at them on, face, and whatever damage is like trample, whatever damage goes straight through. Funny enough, his also discard ability is that if he's thrown into the graveyard, he gives a J Resonator Pierce. So you can utilize him to make either a bigger beat face smash harder and go through, kill something, or you can use him by himself to smash someone, utilize him with Misty Dragon, perhaps make him a flyer, and the only flyer you have is probably weak, and then you smash through, hit them for damage. Works out fine. You have 3 of those. He's very good fodder to throw away. The next one is Valorous Tiger Spirit, who has the ability, costs 5, but and you almost never play him, but he has precision. That's what he does. You sack him from your hand, and then he gives whatever Resonator precision. That's what you're mainly using him for. But if you need to utilize him to smash something, because he's a 12-12. No, he's a 12-12. He can get rid of very annoying opponents nowadays, which can be, if you think about it, can be the Time Spinning Witch, because she's a 12 cost and she has barrier, or it can be Gil because he's 11-11 and he has barrier. 12 cost, 12 big. Either one of these things can be killed by just attacking into him now instead. So that's what you give him. Give him precision to pick out certain opponents that you want dead, and you never actually usually have to pay the actual cost for them. And the last Resonator in this deck is, funny enough, the Ruler of Souls, the Unyielding Dragon Ragnarok, who you will never usually sack him because he's important. But once you get to him, especially if you're utilizing Charlotte or the Dusker, either way, it's an easy way to get rid of all your cards in your hand and then have several stacks go off. So you play him, he takes the top cards of your deck until you want to stop, or until you hit a secondary card, another of the same card. And then he has an ability to sack 7 cards and destroy pretty much anything but a stone. Meaning he can kill a Resonator, he can kill a Ruler, he can kill an addition that's really annoying on the field, he can kill Regalias if they're on the field, and you're playing Wanderer. He just works that way. He gets rid of anything that's annoying, and he gets rid of your hand. So if you're playing Scarlet on your side, you get rid of your entire hand, you proc all the soul abilities and anything that goes away, it gives you a hand or whatever, gives you any effect, and then you flip and you smash with Scarlet, or you have no hand, so then you flip with Charlotte, and then you get your 5 cards back, and you gain life from all of those, and then you have this big 15/15 flying dragon. So with all the creatures that are no longer there, all the Resonators done, we go to the chance, and we start as 4 of Charlotte's Water Transformation Man. I'll even show it to you because they're really good. And they basically do one of 2 things. They're really good fodder to be thrown away because they have Remnant, meaning you can cast them from the graveyard. So even if you don't have a hand, you technically have a hand to use your will for. And then they have the ability to turn something into a 4/4 bear with no abilities. And they're quick casts, meaning even if they get canceled from your hand, which you don't care about, you then cast it again from the graveyard. They spend another Ferris spell on that, or they spend a lore right on you getting rid of it from your hand to do an effect. You can do it again, it doesn't matter. Or they can use a Severing Winds on it because they really don't want you stopping their ability. It's a good card, and that's why you have 4 of them. The next is actually 4 of Demon Flames. Demon Flames are a reason to be put in this deck for the simple fact that there are earlier cards like Elixir, or you just swinging into them, or anything like that, any ping cards that says when something's damaged, especially if they do it themselves, it dies. It does 500 damage. If it's already been dealt damage, it's dead. A lot of times, if for some reason you want to use, you can use the Scarlet combo. You can Scarlet the card for anything. I don't know. Use Charlotte's Protectors. You can use Charlotte's Water Transformation Magic, or you can even use the card itself, if you got two of them, to ping the creature for 500, and then hits it with Demon Flame for another 500, and then it dies. So regardless how big it is, it's now dead. That's why you have four of them. Next card is 3 Elixirs Fighting Spirit. It is a Remnant card. It gives you first strike plus 400, and it applies to J Resonators. It's effectively a Tiger Strike that costs the exact same, but instead is a rare and also hits J Resonators, and has Remnant. So it's Tiger Charge plus. And it's Remnant, meaning you can discard it from your hand, feel no real bad about it, and then utilize it from your graveyard into the field and smash someone even harder, like Scarlet or Charlotte, whichever you want to use to swing into someone and kill them. And that's why you have 3 of those. The next card is 2 Prismatic Flames. Prismatic Flame is a card that just came out in the set, and it was a really good addition to Welser decks and Burn in general to utilize Crests and Welser's whole idea and build to burn, but burn a specific way. You can burn and actually control with your burn. So Prismatic Flame is cost 1 red. It is a card with a awakening effects, and each awakening effect can be paid by a crest of that color. So later in the deck, you'll find out that I put those in there, and because that exists, it makes it where they have 5 effects. Usually, the effects you're going to go for are red, black, green, or red, black, blue, or red, white. If you can hit all of them, usually you'll try to hit all of them. So you do double damage. You do a lot of damage if they have too many Resonators. You heal all that damage. You draw cards from it, so you don't end up down the card. You play the card, you end up a card as it's going off. And it's a quick cast. So the only problem you're going to have, of course, people will fear spell it or something like that. But otherwise, it's a card that gives you red control. There's no reason not to use it. That's why I have 2 of them, because you don't want too many of them, but you want enough of them to give you that game win, or to put your opponent back, set them back by killing off a card, or alternatively kill them outright because they have too many Resonators on the field, too many tokens or something. That's why you have 2 of those. The next card is 3 of Roar of Souls, which this is a Souls deck, a Determined Souls deck, and Roar of Souls gives you recursion with your Souls cards. So if you're burning out too many Souls cards, you're burn with Scarlet, or rest with Charlotte, you can utilize Roar of Souls to get 2 more Souls cards from your deck. Well, not from your graveyard. Pull them back into your hand. And then you can utilize, that Misty Dragon, or that Willful Samurai Spirit again, or Valorous Tiger to give you that precision flying or pierce that you need to get that game in, or to get a little more damage, or you just need more fodder to toss out. It's a chance. So it's usually no one's going to stop it with anything like Severing Winds or anything. And once you play it, you only played your 1, and then you can just utilize your abilities instead of playing any of your cards, so you don't have to worry about Severing Winds. It's pretty good. If you notice, most of this deck gets around the Severing Winds and the Lorites and stuff like that by just making it where you don't deal with those effects, or you dealing with those effects don't matter. This is the last chance in the deck, or at least outside sideboard, that's possible, is Scarless Visions. And what Scarless Vision does is it is a very good punish card, because what it does is it does the effects of Elixir's Fighting Spirits, but it costs 3. Effectively gives you plus 400 to a J Resonator, just like Elixir's Fighting Spirit, and they're both quick casts. But it also does it where the current creature's attack hits, I believe, another creature's attack, another creature with damage. It just hits them with damage. It hits the biggest one, for the damage of the creature you're swinging with, which can be Ruler, it can be Scarlet, it can be whoever. And there you go. So if you're swinging and they try to block, you can play this, make your creature bigger or Resonator bigger, smash them before they even get to defend, go through, hit them for 400 plus whatever they had on. What it does as well is if you have Scarlet or if you have Charlotte and you have nothing in your hand, you play this card, or you purposely do it so you tap something out or bounce something and you play this card as well, and it hits every J Resonator on their field. That's a way to get around time spinning witch stuff. That's a way to get around barrier. It's a way to get around all the stuff because it hits their whole field. Because it hits this whole field, it works out perfectly. It's the greatest. And then you hit forget. And then we get to finally to your additions. The first addition, of course, is I use Special Power Medicine. It's a 1 cost. It is a treasury item, and for this deck, all it does is an addition, and that costs 1, so it gives you a nice 1 drop if you want to use it, and it makes your J Ruler 2/2. Dusk Girl has a small issue where Scarlet flips, and she's a 10/2. She has all these abilities, but she's a 10/2, meaning literally any of the small things can ping her out and she dies. This makes it where she gets a little bit bigger and she hits a little bit harder without you actually having to spend any more fire will on her other side, to do damage. So she does damage and she survives a little bit more, so she doesn't instantly die out. If you get 2 of them, she has a 600 big body. There are 3 of them. This is how many you have in that. And if you get all 3, she has 800, which is enough that you have to actually spend some significant to kill her at that point. But luckily, at that point, you probably either burnt their hand out or made it where they couldn't do anything about it. The next is 3 Magic Crests of Fire. So earlier, you remember I explained why I would have something like this. Magic Crest of Fire is just an addition, but it's an addition that burns. A addition that burns for 600 against Resonators. And because it's an addition, most people don't have addition hate. Most people don't have things to stop you from burning things with an addition, because additions are not as scary nowadays as chance. So they'll have things to stop quick casts, they'll have things to stop chance. They won't have things to stop additions. So you use this addition to burn something out. And once it's on the field, it does 2 other things. It makes your Ancient Automaton bigger because it's an addition, and it also makes it where you can tap it for Prismatic Flame's Awakening ability, making it where you don't have to pay the red cost to make your Prismatic Flame do its double damage for everything else. So it then becomes cheaper, and you don't have to worry about it. You got to play 3 of those, and it works out fine. You have 3 Magical Wind Chimes. Magical Wind Chimes basically is a blue card that gives you the ability to play all chants of any color, at least assuming you only need 1. And it's also a treasury item, meaning that Gilgamesh from before, the one I was talking about, gets bigger, and it's an addition. So remember that the Ancient Automaton also gets bigger. So it gives you a tap ability outside of your own mana source that allows you to play chants. So you can play that, Charlotte's Transformation Water Magic, or that Elixir's Fighting Spirit from your graveyard without having to use your own stones. Meaning even if you get stone locked out by, Mosasaurus or something like that, you still have a way to play cards. So you won't be completely screwed. We go after that. It's a very good card. We go to the last 2 cards, and that's Duplication Mirror. Duplication Mirror has an effect as it comes into the field. So before it even hits the field, before, whatever tries to stop it, as it comes in the field, it becomes something. So before it's even a card on the field, it turns into somebody's stuff. You can utilize this to set up some very nice combos. You can utilize on your own cards, i.e., you can make another Unyielding Dragon. You can make another Elixir if you have a fire thing on the field, fire crest. You can make another. You can make one of your Misty Dragons or whatever. That's actually a nice combo. You turn it into a Misty Dragon, uses 0 ability to bounce it out, and it comes back in the field. It comes back in the field. It's no longer a Misty Dragon. It can turn into something else if you want. That's why I utilize 4. Of course, it can be hit by other effects, but at that point you can turn it into anything else, so it works out fine. Or you can see your opponent if they have something like, that sweet new Adoraktia that gives your Resonators swiftness if you use red or green. You can utilize that, get their stuff, and then get rid of theirs with like Unyielding Dragon or something, and then have all your Resonators come in with swiftness because they have blue or red, and you don't care. You just pay for the colorless cost, and they come in with swiftness. It's a very good card, and it's an addition, and it's a treasury item. So if it still works out for Gilgamesh, and it still works out for the Ancient Automaton. So after that, we go to the stone base. And the stone base is actually relatively simple. You want a lot of red, you want a lot of blue, you want a little bit of green, and you need all these in there in the base. Now, the last two stones can change based on who you want to start with, but I usually start off with Scarlet first because she's the more controlly ruler, and then if I feel like I need to be a little more aggressive, I'll switch into Scarlet, and then I'll just start burning things out because that just works out better. The four stones, you're gonna have four uh, blast blasted hearth or heat core, sorry, or hearth core, the blue red. You're going to have four of the deep woods, the blue greens, and you're going to either have two of the blasting waves, so it's going to be the red greens, or you're going to have two of the scorched earth, which are the black reds. That's usually what you want. So if you start with Scarlet, Dusk Girl, you're gonna have the black reds. If you're gonna start with Charlotte, you're gonna have probably the red greens. Because having red means you can play any of the cards, the burn cards that you have, like the Demon Flame or whatever. And usually you're gonna hit blue. So if you start second, you're gonna have your blue anyways, and if you start second, you're gonna have your black anyways that you need to flip Scarlet. So either way, those gonna work out fine. It's just whether or not you can utilize Scarlet's ability to burn or Charlotte's ability. Well, not Charlotte's ability, just the other burns like Demon Flames. The sideboard is actually fairly simple and is mutable. I went with this specific one. You don't have to. This is pretty easy. You're gonna have four Melfi's, Sorcerers of the Holy Wind, or whatever. Sorcerers of the Wind. She's an elf that has a quick cast that has all colors, and she's green. Cost 2. She's pretty good, and she shouldn't be too expensive nowadays. So now you can get her because she's about to rotate out, but she works well, and she can sometimes stop damage from opponents. So you quick cast her and go boom. That ability doesn't work. And then for Millennial Bonds, you have four of those. Millennial Bonds stop chance. Draw you a card, so that's always good. And then the alternate ability, if you have something that's green, something that's blue, which you most of the time might likely have, it makes it where you put a treasury item of 3 costs or less into the field for free. So you can get a treasury item for free and also stop a chant out and draw a card, then play something else like Ancient Automaton, or you have your Gilgamesh on the field. Now your Gilgamesh is indestructible, and that works out for you because then you can do any other combination things. The other thing is 4 of the Blazers Prisoner of Flames. This is a really nice card to have, especially if you're going to have Charlotte or Dusk Girl, because it is a card that you can discard out of your hand for free. And it's a Resonator because you're running out of Resonators. You don't have enough Resonators. And you can just put him into field swing and he goes away, and you put him in the field swing, goes away. You can just keep doing this because you don't have a hand. You burn your hand out, you swing, you keep doing it. You don't care. Now, of course, they have, they're playing like tree or something. He'll end up staying on the field, but the whole point is for him to swing and pop out. And it makes it where if you can have no hand, you can still have Resonators to affect the opponent, and he's flying. Of course, so you get those 12. You have the 2 stones you're going to have, so either the blasting waves or the scorched earth, and then Dusk Girl or Charlotte in the sideboard. So that'll be your 15. That's pretty much the whole deck. I will say there were some contenders, and the game, like I said, the game is mutable. So if you don't want that sideboard, it's possible for you to have instead like 4 Pharaoh spells. Instead, in place for any of those, 4 Pharaoh spells, you could have Severing Winds if you want to be a little bit more countery, because you don't need to have green, but you have green anyways, and you can counter out their stuff a little bit faster. Alternatively, since you notice this deck has no 1-drops, but if I would put a 1-drop inside, I would either put the lonely like bug creature, the one that has swiftness and draws you a card, or alternatively, because your ruler eventually is going to come out and start doing things, you can use Flux Dragon. Flux Dragon's a 1 cost. It becomes like a 5/8 once you get 4 or 5 stones, and it flies. It taps stones for you so you can swing with your ruler and not have to worry about dying. But it still is a 1 cost, and once it gets 8, you know, it can still die to all the kills anything of X cost or lower. But it is a card that you use if you feel you rather have that in the main port. So I hope you all enjoyed your time here. I hope you enjoyed your this build. I have pretty good run with it. It was 2-1 usually when I win. Usually it's because of my fault that I didn't do certain things, but the deck works. It's a very nice deck, and against one of the decks outside nowadays, it's very workable. So if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and comment if you happen to got through this entire video. And tell me in the bottom if you have any critiques for the deck, or if you would like to use the deck for some other reasons, or if you like the video and you want me to make more. If you have suggestions, I can even make decks for suggestions. You know, rulers that people haven't utilized for some reason or the other. As always, may the Zen be with you.